What's your birthday?
4/18/29. Along 1950, the draft was they weren't drafting so many in those days. So, but I was on the tail end of that. I'd come home from work on a Friday night, and my dad was in World War I in France, and he said, "You think you want to get drafted, or you think you ought to go enlist in something?" And he said, "You know, you're going to be carrying around a 70-pound pack and digging holes and filling them." And he said, that ain't so easy. And I listened to him. And Monday I went to work, and when I got out of work, I stopped at the Air Force recruiting station, and they had 2 spots open. This was 15th of December, 1950. And they had 2 spots open. Don Alden from Watson took one spot, and I took the other one, and we went together into the service. And we had to leave on the 20th. That was the 15th. We left on the 20th. Stationed in Houston, Texas at Ellington Air Force Base for 3 years. Went to work one morning, and they put in the bulletin board a discharge procedure for people that were airmen first class. I happened to be the first one signed up on the roster and on that board. And I don't know, I think each squadron had a day room and a board with that notice on it. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I surmised. Because the next morning, there was a notice on the bulletin board that the discharge applied except if you were on shipping orders. That's how they got out of letting so many out. There's so many people signed up to get out that so then I ended up in Japan and Korea and spent a year, 13 months over there. And I was a cook in the Air Force. Okay. We stopped to Hawaii on the way over for a day. Then we went on to Japan. Then we shipped from Japan to Korea. There was a staff sergeant that let some Korean. We had Koreans working on the base, and what
was the base?
It was K-14. Staff sergeant let these Korean steal some diced meat out of the freezer, and he got demoted and sent to Daegu, which was a military prison type situation, you know, disciplinary place. And I got his job, and his job was to go twice a week and be on an air C-47 and go buy vegetables in Japan.
Really?
So yeah, so that went on. The rest of my, it's like 7 months of my tour was that. Never seen any ill will at all between anybody. As far as when I was in the service, I had 11 Koreans initially before I got this job going to Japan. I had 11 Koreans on my work shift, and they were all, one of them spoke broken English, so we were able to, you know, correspond that way. But we got along good. We never had any ill will. I enjoyed the Korean people. It was a good tour. You have to talk in this world and correspond with one another if you're going to get along. You can, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's you and I or if it's the president and the rest of the countries in the world. You have to talk, and so I'm for as much talk as you can do without getting into a conflict, whatever that takes, and as long as it takes. It's important to our country.